Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home to cycling Southland and a region rich in scenery and character. This is the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. 18 teams will challenge themselves and each other over 7 stages and 850 kilometres across the roads of Southland, facing everything the terrain and weather can throw at them. At the end of the week, the best rider will add his name to the list of past greats. This is the 2018 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The climb to Coronet Peak on Wednesday was always going to have a big say in proceedings in the 2018 Tour. A breakaway of 7 formed and got out to a 4-minute lead, but the peloton was always in control heading to Queenstown as the teams looked to deliver their key climbers to the bottom of Coronet in good shape. Drama down the road, defending champion James Piccoli crashing to put a dent in his title defence. The 12-kilometre slog to the finish did not disappoint. An all-star trio of Michael Vink, Sam Gaze and Hamish Bond fought it out for line honours. Vink in the end rode away with the stage and rode into the yellow jersey, taking a 1 minute and 20 second lead over his teammate Oliver Martin, with Gaze and Bond in close pursuit. A repeat showing up Bluff Hill today is a mouth-watering prospect.
Just a bit of gravel there and James went down, and then I ran off the corner to miss him and sort of had to start from a dead start, and went really deep early to get back up with Vink and the rest of the front bunch, and then as soon as I got there he went mega, so I just couldn't hold his wheel. He was really strong.
It's really nice to get that win, even just for the confidence as well as the time bonuses, so it's nice to know that I'm definitely one of the strongest in the race and I can use that confidence going forward.
I've always been into bikes. I've been a mountain biker from years ago, so you always looked up to the guys in Tour of Southland, and the opportunity arose this year to come down and have a crack. So yeah, ripped into it and loving it, eh? Today's going to be testing with the conditions, so I've got to keep myself up front and really stay in those front groups. So yeah, get to the end, give the Bluff Hill a good crack, and we'll see what comes out of it. So yeah, just give them all really.
Coming into the Bluff, it's quite open. And if the wind's in the right direction, obviously they'll chuck it in the right hand side and make sure no one gets a sit before the bluff, and then make it even harder for the final climb. So, but our job will be to keep 2 of our guys in good position to have a real crack at the final.
Yeah, balmy out here, mate. Winter brought me sunscreen.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with Mark O'Brien there about the suntan lotion today. As you can see, pretty damp and cool conditions, Doug, here, which is for the hardened bike rider in this Tour of Southland, that's what they wanted. This is what they expect.
This is straight out of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland 101 file here. This is what we all know and love about the Tour of Southland. It doesn't look a lot on paper, Julian. It's only 148 Ks. What we don't see on the tour manual or in the books is the strength of the wind, the wind chill temperature, and the whole factor of racing in this kind of condition after this so many days racing. So this is a real morale sapper, days like this.
Today's weather conditions too will also be playing havoc with the old mental game. Of course, we're at the midway point of this year's tour, so these guys had to get out of bed this morning, look out and see these sort of conditions. It's going to be a big effort to try and get themselves up to the front.
Yeah, big effort to get to the front, and a big effort to try and contain things if you're in that position, like a lot of these riders will be working for Michael Vink, trying to keep the whole thing together for him and his team. That is going to be a major stretch for the WPC South Joyride Apparel squad, trying to keep Vink's position secure, keep him out of trouble. You can see he is riding right up the front of the race. The carnage behind in these windy conditions is really, really something to behold, and today is going to be one of those days.
Yes, you can see them well stretched right from the very start of the stage. Straight into a tailwind here as they head over towards Wyndham and Edendale, and it's Zenovich on the front, the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. They had some great success yesterday, but also some disaster with the likes of Piccoli, of course, crashing at the bottom of the hill. They'll be out today to try and show how good those guys are. And of course, Placemakers right up in the mix there as well here. Very early, Doug. They're well stretched out though.
Yeah, James Piccoli, he'll be feeling very, very salty after that ride up the Coronet Peak. He would have been really picking that stage to make his move. It was just unfortunate for him. It was his own error, but he is back into it today. You've got to hand it to these stage racing cyclists. Every day is another day and another opportunity, and here they are again on the front. You can see further back the distinctive yellow fluoro Trek bike of Hamish Bond from the Kia Motors Ascot Park. They're all positioning themselves here, but man, this is quick. Look at the field stretched out.
It's a great example of the echelon riding here. So these handful of riders, those of you new to the cycling here, got themselves on an angle here to share the road and protect themselves. And meanwhile, further back, they just stretched into single file. And really, the gaps have opened here. At this sort of a speed, they're going to have a very difficult task to try and get themselves to the front. But the man in the black colours here, second wheel behind Dylan Kennett, he's the man who's actually in yellow. He's got wrapped up today, keeping himself nice and warm. So making it challenging for us, Doug, here as we try and pick up each of the classification leaders. There goes Bat. Now this young man here, the king of the mountains, fantastic. He's only 19 years of age, and this guy he's challenging for the GC, as well as of course holding on to that polka dot jersey in great form.
Yeah, they've produced some absolutely stunning riders. Nelson Melborough, of course George Bennett's from up that way, but Ethan Bat, like you say, a young guy, come to the Tour of Southland. He's really stamped his mark on this year's race. He's a rider to watch. There are a number of riders here that emerge every year in this race. This is one of the greatest things about the SBS Bank Tour. We've seen a lot of riders emerge and go on to become pros and do some amazing things at the highest level, but the speed today is just tremendous. There's 50k an hour. These guys are driving a huge gear. Further back in the peloton here, there's some gaps. I mean, this is torture. The further back you go, you really want to get up the front, but this is the shot from the back of the chasing group. You can see the front group in the distance there towards the Remu Church, Julian, but oh boy, that's leg speed, isn't it?
It's absolutely, and that's the guys who can bounce back and have that leg speed today after some tiring first couple of days, after those big climbs, to be able to bounce back into it. We saw this morning early on a number of them warming up in preparation for what could have been a very fast start as per usual, and it certainly has proven to be so. Placemakers again, well positioned up towards the front. There's the man in the black colours, Michael Vink, after an outstanding climb yesterday. This guy has got some power, he's also got the speed, and he's nice and cool, calm and collected with it. Being where it's safe to be right up near the front, why hover back towards the back in these crosswinds? That's a dangerous place to be.
Absolutely, and we say it time and time again, Michael Vink is showing that he is a true all-rounder, as you've said. There's a shot of Hamish Bond. He's further back. He looks like he's covering up well, though, but it's an experience thing, and this is the thing that the Sam Gazers and the Hamish Bonds will be getting out of this race. There's a great shot of the local boy, Josh Haggerty, and again, Matt Zenovich. These boys have bike raced all their lives. The Hamish Bonds and the Sam Gazers perhaps haven't, but gosh, the experience they get out of this race is worth so much to them over the week. It really does set them up.
Hamish Keast of Southland here towards the front, and he's got, looks like Fouché potentially coming through. We'll just try and pick up some of these names here. One of the Kia boys has also missed the break there, Mark O'Brien, but they've got a fair chunk of their team up towards the front. Aardvark. Oh, and here we go. It looks like it's the young Swiss rider, Vogel, there. And he's taken a tumble after being in that leading peloton here. He's now going to have to sort himself out and get back into the chases. So Sam Gaze here, nice close-up of him, one of the men right up in the general classification here. He's one they've marked in the books today to keep a close eye on as they head down to the notorious Bluff Hill. One of the toughest climbs, of course, Doug, each year in the Tour.
It is an absolutely shocking climb. Having gone up there quite a few times myself, Julian, this chasing group, they'll be desperate to try and get across or have some more numbers come across to them, because it is such a long way. You get to the bottom of Bluff Hill, you've had 3 or possibly we've had 4 days racing at this stage, haven't we?
Oh, sorry, Doug. Case Diverston there of Dunedin is the man that's done a slip. Oh, this poor guy. He wiped out yesterday, a very good climber, in a crash with 20 riders yesterday. You can see the bandages on him here, and has done another bit of a slip here. The greasy roads, of course, and out there, a bit of rain comes down, and the oil on the roads makes life a little bit dangerous for him there. But unfortunate for the Creation Signs, Ronald McDonald House, South Island, Rico team member.
Oh, yeah, that sort of thing is really unfortunate. The wet roads, the tyre pressure of some of these guys. One of the things you do in the Tour of Southland is perhaps lower your tyre pressure a bit to accommodate the roads and the wet. But here we are back through the coming into the main street of Edendale, turning to go to Wyndham, and this front group, you can't really call it a breakaway, Gillian. This is actually the main field of the race, isn't it?
Absolutely. These are guys who just sat on the front, and it's just disintegrated as they make their way down the road, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it even reduce further with the sort of speeds that they've got on here, Doug. Recovery is all important, but they're not getting a lot of opportunity to catch their breath here whatsoever at these top speeds.
Yeah, I'm going to be quite fascinated to see what occurs further on. There's so much racing to go, and a lot of these guys looking at, as I said at the start, the tour manual, you really can't underestimate the conditions, the road conditions and that wind chill, because it just is such a tough race to race in that kind of style.
Here we see a shot there of the defending champion on the rear of the group here. He's with Bond. Bit of a split starting to happen here as they utilise the wind and the bumpy terrain as they head out of Wyndham, of course, through Glenham. Those folks that know Southland well, it's got a lot of terrain that can really challenge a bike rider at the best of times.
We've seen a lot of groups split to bits. The Hayden Ralston ride through here to get rid of Hamish Bond after he'd won that Coronet Peak stage a couple of years ago was quite dramatic, and it really does get lumpy and bumpy. Corbin Strong again at the front from the Team Skoda Fruscio ride. What a great ride this kid's having. We talk about Matt Zinovich, and he's a class act. This Corbin Strong at such a young age, gosh, he's got a great future.
And here goes Gaze, the mountain biker that's put himself onto the front and into descending mode. He goes. The speed is fair, whipping along here. They can see the cracks happening in the field, and of course that could reduce the opportunity for a number of the top hitters.
And here we go. James Piccoli has come to the front. We haven't seen an awful lot of him in this stage, but here he is starting to drive things along and starting to really put some gaps in behind him. He has a look to see what the damage is. The Kia Motors, Ascot Park boys are hitting the front. This could be a bit of a concerted effort here. Piccoli will really, really be wanting to get some time back after yesterday.
Yes, the red train is in action here. He's got a multitude of rider options available to him here, with the likes of Bond, of course, Piccoli in here. So a few of the teams have got one or two riders in here. There we go. We go to see the man that's worn the silver jersey early on in the tour. That's Odlin, a man well experienced with this. He'll be absolutely relishing these conditions here. He's in there in support of his teammate as they look over the shoulder and they can see the damage that this is doing. The likes of Zinovich and co are struggling off the back at this point.
Yeah, man, this is a pretty strategic move here from James Piccoli. You could see the squad move to this front, and they've really, really put the acid on and gapped a few of these guys. Whether or not they catch back up, of course, that's the nature of this, but we're just really starting to get into apple country here now.
It was a nice wee shot there of three riders just peeling off the back, and one of those was Brad Evans. Now, of course, he was the one and only teammate there of the tour leader, Vink. So now Vink has been isolated to be the sole team rider here in amongst this group, and they'll be licking their lips, a few of these teams together, because that's what they wanted to do. If they want to try and take some time out of him, they want to isolate him by himself and see what sort of damage they can do now over the roads from Invercargill to Bluff.
The strategy involved in this whole bike racing game can be quite complex, and when you get down to being a sole member, like you say, of the team, you really do become vulnerable, especially when you have that yellow jersey on. So as the weather gets dirtier and it gets windier, I think there's going to be some acid getting put on Michael Vink just to see what his legs are like.
So it looks like a lot of the classification leaders have made this break. But the one I haven't noted here at all is Connor Brown, the under-23 leader. We can see, of course, there is the man in the yellow jersey. There was Zinovich there. He's, of course, leading in the sprint ace. And you've got young Ethan Batt there, of course, the man in the King of the Mountains as well. So it looks like out of all the classifications, and that both the silver jersey and 23 have missed the cut.
Yeah, it's inevitable on days like today. You can only fit so many bike riders across, and there's Hamish Bond. He has just gone right down the inside, no shelter. Hamish is obviously having a crack at these guys to soften them up before the hill. He might be trying to get away himself. It's hard to know, but Piccoli is sitting there letting him go, and he was just having to wait. He has taken away with him, by the looks of things, the tour leader, Michael Vink. So Hamish Bond has just destroyed this front group.
And Sam Gaze, the man in the black colours, is the man that has joined him here. So 3 of the best climbers from yesterday on the front of the race. Here we go with Gaze now, and that's just powering his way through there with Vink. Gaze has had a fairly quiet run down towards Bluff, but has decided now to get into the mix here. So this will be interesting to see. As you can see Bluff Hill looming up there on the top left-hand side. You can see the road that makes their way up. This is still a fair way to go for these riders before they head upwards, and what is always a very short, sharp, punchy climb that will really hurt the legs.
Yeah, it is such a steep climb at the end, and you can see these guys starting to 1-2 each other now. There's Sam Gaze having a crack. He's trying to get across on his own, get a bit of a buffer going before the Bluff Hill climb. Sam Gaze is going to be really interesting to see how he attacks that climb, because they're both all very, very good climbers. Hamish Bond has been gapped again, but he's just such a tenacious guy. This bloke never, ever gives up. And the chasing group with Piccoli and the rest of the field are getting further and further behind. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there too. Piccoli has not yet taken a turn. It is all on the back of these 2 guys at the front, and it looks like these front 3 are starting to play cat and mouse.
And let's not forget he's got Christensen back there as well in the red colours there for the Kia team. So they've got a few cards to play here, and that's why you see the likes of Gaze and of course the tour leader trying to keep that gap. They don't want all the options being available to the team from the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. Gaze is stirring things up. He's got some very good top end speed here, this man, as they head towards the township of Bluff, the southernmost city township here in New Zealand. Are they going to be able to hold out the chasers? We'll see over the next few kilometres.
Oh, what a way to ride to Bluff. This is just like a slugfest between these guys, and Hamish Bond still yet hasn't really got tucked in, and here he is having another crack. Hamish Bond from the Kia Motors Ascot Park is having a go on his own before the bottom of Bluff Hill. What an incredible athlete. You've got to hand it to this guy. Grit and determination plus.
The man with the V8 engine, Hamish Bond, continues to show these bike riders how it's done. He just doesn't give up, as you've said, Doug. 13-second advantage coming into the base of the climb. And what a climb it is. Completely different to yesterday, but can the big figure here of Hamish Bond, and that he would say himself, he's not a pure climber compared to the likes of the Vinks of the world and that here, has he got the strength to be able to hold off the chasers?
One thing you do need in spades up this Bluff Hill is strength. It is a very, very short, very, very power-based climb, and I'm sure Hamish Bond is going to equip himself very well. He's just such a big, powerful athlete, and he does know how to hurt himself. We saw it time and time again yesterday on the Coronet Peak stage, and here we are. There's the front leaders, all of which, Piccoli, Vink, the King of the Mountains, Ethan Batt, Michael Vink is sneaking up the inside and putting some hurt on Sam Gaze at the front. Sam Gaze is putting the hurt on Michael Vink. But these guys are really, really reeling on the attack of Hamish Bond. This is bold, bold stuff.
Marcus Cooley, of course, from Placemakers, also sitting on the rear of that group there. He'll be just watching cautiously to see what those guys can do. Even in all this sort of pain, Doug, here, these guys here are still doing the calculations the entire time. Putting the hammer down goes the man in the yellow jersey here. As we saw yesterday, he just seems to be able to lift the gear and just do it with relative ease. He'll be hurting as much as anybody else, but the poker face, we've seen it time and time again here as he just reels it in there and sees if he can get himself across to Bond.
And James Piccoli is just tucked in on his wheel as well. He's pedaling a nice wee gear, conserving his energy. Back to the front again. Hamish Bond over the bars. Every bit the cyclist here. He'll have a quick look over his shoulder. He won't want to see what's behind him, but he is just concentrating on what he's doing. This guy really can ride a tempo, and here we go. James Piccoli is split across from Michael Vink, the tour leader, and he is bridging across to Hamish Bond. He's just in behind that support vehicle. James Piccoli has finally made his move, Julian. Here it is.
Yes, he's waited patiently over the last few days. Didn't get that opportunity yesterday, but look at the climber make his way up to his teammate. It'll be interesting if a few words are spoken, or they'll just carry on and try and secure for themselves some positions here at the top of the leaderboard as Piccoli comes straight up beside Bond. See you later. I'm just going to carry on, just rock and roll up here. It's Vink they're trying to take time out of course, because Piccoli, he's well over 3 minutes behind this man here in the yellow jersey. Bond, of course, sitting also in 4th place overall in the GC coming into this morning. So Vink has to ride patiently. He doesn't want to lose too much time to these guys.
Piccoli really has put the acid on. This is, of course, the steepest part of the climb here, right down to the lowest sprocket on your bike and out of the seat. Some of the athletes have to zigzag as well, but Piccoli's taking the straight line approach. He is really driving this, trying to make every post a winner and get an advantage over Michael Vink to bring some of that time back. Hamish Bond, you've got to say, what a ride. He took off before Bluff. He is really grovelling up here, but Piccoli is making it look easy.
He's done this before, of course, folks. Remember, 12 months ago, this Canadian rider here made his move on this particular hill, and can he make it 2 from 2? At this point in time, it would suggest he's going to, because there's a decent gap happening there. There's going to be a great wee battle going on for 2nd and 3rd, but Piccoli, after yesterday's damage on the bottom of the hill for him here, has bounced back. You can guarantee the body will be hurting not only from the climb, but from that crash yesterday, but this is a sign of a true champion. Never count me out. Over 3 minutes behind Doug, but he comes back here today, and it looks like he's going to take out the BDO stage.
Yeah, he really is driving all the way. He hasn't looked back yet or even worried about that. He's just concentrating on what he's got to do. He's going to drive this all the way to the finish to try and get some time. There he is, takes a final sneak peek before he starts heading round to the finish to this stage. Well done, James Piccoli. That is a super effort after yesterday. He was disappointed. I know that he would have thought it would have turned out better for him yesterday, but here he is driving all the way to the top of Bluff Hill. This is such a tough stage, getting the sponsor's name out there. Look at that. James Piccoli, cool as a cucumber, takes the stage.
The fingers go up 2 from 2 years running here. He takes it out in a close battle here for 2nd and 3rd, but Bond, what an effort. Vink does enough there. It should be enough to hold on to the yellow jersey, but Piccoli comes back. Don't count me out as we head into the latter stages of the 2018 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Cooley there of the Placemakers team, one of the men in the break, and here he is, Gaze, well down after a fine effort early. Michael Vink, after finishing 3rd up the notorious Bluff Hill, controlled all day long, continues to hold on to a minute 32 advantage over Hamish Bond and Sam Gaze. Matt Zenovich gets in the main break of the day and picks up a number of points to extend his lead quite considerably here in the Harcourt Sprint Ace, as Ethan Batt also continues to pick up a number of points and has opened up a big gap over Zenovich and Vink in the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. Batt also adds the Henderson Construction under 23 pink jersey to his repertoire over Corbin Strong by 3:44. While Paul Odlin moves back into the silver jersey for the Stonewood Homes classification. Ryan Christensen for the Kia Motors Ascot Park team, after a lot of attacks and support for his teammates, was awarded the most competitive of the day. A dominant performance by the Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team now sees them extend a lead of over 6 minutes 38 over WPC South, Joyride Apparel and PowerNet at 10 minutes 25.
Really nice to be able to do it for the team. They worked super hard for me yesterday, and it was really a disappointment not to be able to pay them back for their hard work. And so today was a little bit of redemption for that, and we're happy to go 1-2 on the stage and take a little bit of time back. The race is not over. We're looking forward to animating the next couple of days. We're in a good position to make the race interesting, so we'll see.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at www.tourofsouthland.com.